Welcome back, everyone, to the weekly Armchair Sports Talk podcast. This is the United Show. This is Devil's Advocate. I'm your host, Keane, and joined by two guests here today, joined by Greg and Stu, here to talk all things Man United. We'll be talking the Aston Villa game coming up tomorrow. Also, be talking about Cristiano Ronaldo and how he's adapted his new role at the football club. We're going to talk about Bruno Fernandes' suspension and how the Man United deal with that, considering he's been such a vital part of United's midfield this season. And also, we are going to talk about Alejandro Garnacho, and we're going to talk about, can he actually make a claim this season, and can he actually be a player to provide some competition for the likes of Rashford and Sancho, etc. So we're going to discuss all that this morning. So this smash the like video, guys. Do subscribe as well. And as always, look, we do appreciate your support. But look, we're not going to talk about the Sociedad game because we literally talked about before we went on air. And look, part of the story is Man United are through to the next round of the Europa League, and we're playing one of the BTEC Champions League teams. We're going to get that out of the way. That's what's happening, essentially. Look, we won. We're still unbeaten. We move on. So we're going to talk more about Villa today, because obviously, look, we've been on a good run in the Premier League. Villa, I suppose, have the new, they've got away from Steven Gerrard, so they've kind of have a new manager-ish bounce. I know they got smashed by Newcastle last week, but before then, they were playing reasonably okay after Gerrard got sacked. Greg, I think the first thing we'll kind of talk about is Bruno's suspension tomorrow. Obviously, look, Bruno's been playing number 10, been playing on the right. He's played false 9 this season. Well, I think one thing about Fernandes this season is he's probably exceeded expectations in terms of playing in an Erik ten Hag system. There was a lot of, I suppose, people out there that said that Bruno will not be a vital part of Erik ten Hag's system. Consequently, Bruno's been captain this season, and he's played more or less every game. Obviously, we're missing him this weekend through suspension. Obviously, that's through probably his own antics. But what do you make his suspension? And do you think, when you're thinking about tomorrow's lineup, I know we're going to discuss lineups not towards the end, but do you think we can cope without Bruno Fernandes, considering he's our chief creator, and you look at the numbers and in terms of chance creation this season? He's been very productive, despite the fact goals and assists haven't been kind of in his repertoire this season.
Yeah, I think it depends how quickly Emery's been able to coach a system into that Villa side, because that Villa side are awful. They're not just poor going forward, they're just disorganised at the back as well. And I think if they were okay going forward and disorganised at the back, Man United would take that and would probably still beat them. Where Man United have struggled, as we know, is when teams are really organised at the back, when they're throwing men behind the ball. We obviously saw it through the week. I wouldn't be surprised to see Villa throw men behind the ball. It's an Emery system. They're not going to be playing sparkling football. So I think if Villa are sort of how they have been playing over the last little while, then we should be able to cope without Bruno. But to your point, absolutely, there was a lot of people that were, I remember doing a show after he got his contract extension, and it was shortly after Ten Hag was announced. People were like, oh, why would you give a contract extension to a player before the new manager comes in? It's like, oh, yeah, maybe they had that conversation that he wanted one of the best attacking midfielders in the league to be part of his team. And he's been really, really good. And I don't want to say that we will be able or won't be able to cope with him. I just hope that we'll be able to cope without him, because I never know with this Man United. You don't know what side's going to turn up. If it's the same side that turns up that played against Spurs, I'm sure they're against Chelsea, then I think we'll absolutely hammer Aston Villa regardless. But because I think the whole team's bought into the system, I don't think it's a case of Bruno playing hero ball like it was under Ollie. I feel like the whole team's put into a system, and the players around him ensure Bruno can play like that. But if it's the Man United that we saw right at the start of the season, then who knows? Because there will be bad results. This is like, as well as been played, we're not going to be playing like this all season. There will be bad results. So eventually one of these results is going to come out, and Villa might just be a team where we come unstuck against. I'm not sure. I'm hopeful we can be okay without Bruno, but I'm a bit cautious.
Yeah, I think there is a bit cautious. I think especially if you talk about Ollie's reign, if there was only a handful of games where Bruno actually didn't play under Ollie, and consequently, they're actually probably our worst games under the manager. When you think about the Leicester game in the FA Cup, you think about other games as well. There was games where Bruno was in there that we lacked, identity, we lacked, creativity, and I think taking him out of the side, it's going to be very interesting to see how other players take the burden of being kind of that, I suppose, talisman number one, but number two, making things happen. And I think maybe there'd be a lot more onus on Christian Eriksen this weekend and to be kind of that man to create. But still, obviously, look, Ten Hag's kind of predominantly played a 4-2-3-1 this season, and look, we've seen kind of Eriksen being that kind of deep line playmaker. Now, would you actually, like, when you look at the Bruno suspension, how would you kind of move it around? Because I think, like, look, Donny van de Beek came in at number 10 against Real Sociedad. And look, he came in for a lot of criticism in regards to his performance, like in terms of lack of influence on the game. Would you maybe look at bringing in maybe one of McTominay and Fred in for that physical battle against Villa's midfield and maybe push Eriksen further up the pitch? Or would you maybe think, right, look, let's maybe give Donny van de Beek another chance? Me personally, I'd probably bring Fred in, but what do you look at this? How do you think United's shape could evolve without Bruno being involved this weekend?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and I think to be fair to Greg, he's as usual, he's on point again with the way that Emery's likely to set up. I totally agree. I think he knows how Manchester United play. He's a very astute manager, is Emery. People can say what they like about him, you know, his failings, etc., but he knows what he's doing. He knows how to set up a team to frustrate, and I think that's exactly what he'll do. Interestingly enough, players have got to adapt. So you get suspensions, you get injuries throughout the season. So you've got to adapt as a team, and as players, you've got to adapt. And if I'm Fred or I'm Donny van de Beek or I'm McTominay, I'm kind of thinking, what a shame, Bruno, quite quietly, and I'm getting myself ready, prepared, because sorry, mate, I'm going to have your position. But we don't do that. Fred, Donny van de Beek, McTominay, they don't do that. They haven't got the balls to grab their chance by the scruff of the neck and say, sorry, Bruno, you're gone, mate. Because we are going to have to play Eriksen as a 10. You're absolutely right. No, you're 100% right. So for me, you've got to bring in somebody that Casemiro knows, and that's Fred. And I'm not saying it's the right move, but you can only play the cards you're dealt, I guess. And, Ten Hag's got major issues. He can only either play Lindelof or Maguire alongside Martinez. He can only play, in my humble opinion, McTominay or Fred alongside Casemiro, because I'm not really sure Donny van de Beek. Well, I think he's lost everything. He's lost his identity. I think he's lost his meaning as a footballer, which is really sad to see because, you know, when you look at what he provided at Ajax, he was absolutely superb. And I do like Donny van de Beek. I really do like Donny van de Beek, but you cannot trust Donny van de Beek on Saturday in the Premier League. The reason he played Thursday, again, in my opinion, is I think Ten Hag was looking to see whether Van der Beek can replace Bruno this Sunday. I don't think he got the answer he was looking for, so I think you'll see Fred come in. But it's not to say Donny van de Beek's a bad player. We just haven't seen Donny van de Beek, have we? You know, if we're all being honest. So we don't necessarily know what he's going to be. But I do think... Sorry, go on.
On what Stu said there, we haven't seen Donny van de Beek. In this situation, obviously, like, look, he's had 4 different managers at Man United right now, and we see the social media clamour for Donny van de Beek to play in the United's team, to play ahead of Fernandes, essentially. I don't see look how influential Bruno is, but like, what's going on with this man? Because he's had Ole Gunnar Solskjaer signed him, Ralph Rangnick's been there, and Michael Carrick's been there. Now, obviously, Ten Hag has been there, and obviously Ten Hag's the manager who, you know, got the best out of him. He was obviously nominated for the Ballon d'Or under Ten Hag at Ajax. But, like, he just looks like a shell of a player. Do you think, is this a classic case of, like, Juan Sebastian Veron, Diego Forlan, players who've been at United who are quite rightly world class, but this, when they come to Man United, they're, it's just a bit too much for him?
Well, he was awful at Everton as well. So he's had 5 managers in the time that he's been in England. His position just doesn't exist in the Premier League. His position in the Ajax team and in the Eredivisie is teams that, because teams want to play like Ajax, think about Ajax batter teams in the Eredivisie, and it's not because the teams are sitting back deep behind the ball. It's because they're trying to have a go and they're trying to entertain a little bit. So they're playing back 3s, they're playing back 5s with wing backs going forward. And Van de Beek's job was just to run into the gap, to run into the space behind, and that doesn't exist in the Premier League. It doesn't. It never will. You don't get teams like. Strangely, the games that Donny van de Beek would be best is when we would have played Leeds under Bielsa, but he never played in those games either. His position just doesn't exist. He's just not that system's player. And if Ten Hag's come in and he's had him before and that's where he was best, and he's gone, nah, no thanks, I'll stick with 30-year-old Eriksen with a pacemaker, Like the start of the season, Eriksen was playing 90 minutes a week, twice a week, rather than Donny van de Beek playing, even before he was injured. His position just doesn't exist, and that's fine. But this constant clamouring for him, and then every time he comes onto the pitch, he does nothing. I kept forgetting he was playing on Thursday night. You don't know. He's got no presence in the game at all. And he doesn't, it's not like when he moves, he drags defenders. He doesn't even drag people with him because people aren't bothered about him getting the ball. Because he'll get the ball and knock it back 3 yards. That's not what you need to do. If he needs to play 10, the reason Bruno's so good at 10, and the reason that a lot of people also get annoyed at Bruno, is when he gets the ball, he tries things. Ten Hag can't put him into that game tomorrow and have faith that Donny van de Beek's going to try anything and create anything. Like the reason Rashford's been so good this season is because Casemiro and Bruno and Eriksen, their one job has been to try and play in behind to Rashford, try and get the ball to Rashford, get the ball to the front three and make stuff happen. And Van de Beek wouldn't do that. Every time Van de Beek gets the ball, his hope is just to knock it back. I don't think I've ever seen him just pick up the ball and turn a man and go. And he did that at Ajax. But his position doesn't exist now in this team. He doesn't know where he stands with the club in terms, obviously he was loaned out, brought back in, he was a big money signing. And I don't think he wants to be there. And that's absolutely fine. He doesn't have to be there. But Man United need to move on for the sake of him and for the sake of the team as well. Because trying to shoehorn him into lineups just to make things fit is going to cost us eventually.
Stu, just on the back of Greg said, what do you think about that?
Yeah, he's right. Absolutely. I never thought of it that way, actually, that his position doesn't exist in the Premier League. It didn't cross my mind because... and I always thought, and I'll be really candid with you guys, I always thought that, and it's a moot point now, by the way, because when you've got the likes of Casemiro, you've got a player of quality. But I always thought that Donny van de Beek's best position in the Premier League is a holding player. Okay, and that's only because he's got the brain and the mental capacity to be able to be a holding footballer. Now, people will turn around and say, well, he can't head the ball, he can't do this, he can't do that. You don't need to. Just watch Casemiro. You don't need to. When we are in possession, Casemiro will just jog around. Well, in fact, what he'll do, he'll pass it, he'll walk, he'll stop in the centre circle. And then he'll watch to see how the transition goes. If we lose it, he's in the perfect position to mop anything up. If we win it and we carry on position, just watch him. He'll just jog around side to side, 5 yards, 10 yards. Again, he's waiting for transition. And if we lose it, he can be on it and smash. And if we keep it, he'll then move forward 10 yards to be an auxiliary striker who can then play in a ball behind the back or he'll go for a strike. That's where Donny van de Beek in the Premier League would be dynamic. He would be dynamite there. He really would. And again, this comes back to, and I know we want to touch on Ronaldo, and we'll touch on Ronaldo a bit later, but this comes back to a player, okay, that sometimes needs to look at your environment, look at what you're good at, look who's in your position, and see where you can help the team. And you've almost got to reinvent yourself as a footballer. You know, Axel Tuanzebe should have reinvented himself as a right back. He would have got in now. He'd have been playing, he would have had game time if he decided to move out centre half and reinvent himself as a right back. You can do it as a professional footballer. There's nothing in the manual, there's nothing anywhere that states, oh, I'm a centre half. Absolutely nothing. I was a centre midfielder.
Look at Mascherano years ago. He was a holding midfielder for Liverpool, went to Barcelona, played centre half.
Yeah, exactly right. You know, I started out when I was a nipper, I was a speedy winger. But when I decided what I wanted to do, I was a central midfield player. And when I couldn't do that, I popped back to centre half because it was an easy route for me to do it. You've got to know what your best position for that starting 11 is. And then when Ten Hag's going, I'm going to do this and this and this, you go, Gaffer, what the hell's going on? I've been working my arse off, playing centre half, training extra. You've got to be able to then be in a position to have a go at the boss and say, look, I want to play. Unfortunately, Donny van de Beek, for whatever reason, doesn't want to do that. And Greg's right. The position doesn't exist for him, and the club haven't got a clue what to do with him. They just don't know what to do with him. Nobody knows what to do with Donny van de Beek. So he needs to bite the bullet himself and his agent, and he needs to go in January and go and play football. He should have been going to the World Cup. 2019, if the World Cup, Donny van de Beek was an absolute shoo-in for the World Cup. Now he's going to be twiddling his thumbs playing Cadiz in a fucking friendly match. He should be in Qatar. There's absolutely no two ways about it. He should be there. that if you've got to look at it. Do you sit on your contract, earn your money? He's obviously on big money, 100 grand, 200 grand a week or whatever. Or do you think to yourself, I should be in Qatar? What the fuck's going on? That would be me. I'd be going to myself.
And do you know what as well? I think the problem here is obviously I think he may leave in January because I think chances are going to be a few and far between. Obviously, if you look after this weekend, we've got one Premier League game against Fulham, and that's it then.
Aren't we?
We've the Carabao Cup during the week as well. But after that, then it's back to business as usual. And you'd imagine, injuries permitting, that Fernandes likes him come back into midfield, and maybe United have their own targets in January, in terms of, striker positions. We need to free up a few, Bob. We need some money because the cash flow is quite low in the football club at the minute. So, I think Donny van de Beek, I think it'd be sensible to sell him in January because, look, whatever about his performances at United, he still has this reputation at the minute, for being a good footballer. So, I look at it from that perspective, and I think Van de Beek can be vital in that sense in terms of getting some cash, maybe just 25-30 million. That's just based off reputation. Maybe some team from the Bundesliga or something like that, or maybe Ligue 1 or Italy can sign him. I think, if he went to the Italian league, he'd love it.
It'd be great.
It'd be great in that. He would. Yeah, that's his. It'd be great
perfect for that league. So, look, there's definitely somewhere he can go. And again, I mentioned this months ago when Pogba was at the club. You can have all the ability in the world, but sometimes that club might not be the right place for you. And this is just the same thing with Van de Beek at the minute. And there's no hard feelings. There's no, there's nothing like that for Donny van de Beek. It's just, look, wrong place, wrong time, wrong time.
We saw something similar back in the 2000s with Saber Veron. He came a world class operator, and I hate the term world class, Keane, as you well know. It doesn't mean anything to me, but he's a top operator. He really struggled to find his rhythm and his form and his identity at Manchester United, and it does happen with these players. Kleberson, again, a top operator, but did nothing for us. But a top operator outside Old Trafford, top operator for Brazil and clubs that he played for, couldn't adjust to life. Maybe Donny van de Beek just can't adjust to life. And as Greg says, his position in the Premier League does not exist, because he does make the odd run in between, but nobody finds him. Nobody can see.
He's running through a gap. He's not running through a gap. He's running through crowds of players because he just wants the ball, and therefore then he's causing issues when we lose the ball and he's out of position.
Exactly, because the turnover is so quick, and we're all crescendoed right in the set. Yeah, again, you're absolutely right. So
if he was running through gaps, then he'd be okay. But there's no gaps to run through, so you can't expect to get given the ball. But what annoys me is every time he gets the ball, he just knocks it back to where it comes from. It's just not progressive.
He doesn't make the gaps either. And you're right about Eredivisie. There are gaps just appear because they'll play free flowing football. But sometimes you've got to get your shoulders out and make yourself a gap. Oh, sorry, ref, I didn't see him. You know what I mean?
I saw a tweet a while ago. It's like someone needs to give Donny van de Beek nunchucks so he's got a bit of presence on the pitch. Just do something, because he doesn't do anything. Just knock someone down. Remember, he came on that substitute appearance and got it and just put in a flying tackle and stuff. It's like, just do that more often. Just go in and work hard and kick a few people if you need to.
Absolutely.
Just do something.
That's old school football, Keane. That's how you do it.
You know what, as well? You look at I look at Donny van de Beek at the minute, right? And I say the reason why I think there's not a place for him. There's a player coming back from loan in the summer with Hannibal Mejbri, and he's playing unbelievable for Birmingham at the minute.
He is.
And I look at him, and I look the way he's playing. I look the way Ten Hag spoke about him in pre-season. He's going to come back. Because I think he'd be Van de Beek's replacement in the summer. I don't think he has the fact Zidane Iqbal was getting into this matchday squads ahead of Van de Beek. I think that should tell you everything you need to know in terms of where Van de Beek is. And that's not a slight on Zidane Iqbal. Zidane Iqbal is a very young player who's just out of the academy. So again, I just don't see what his future is. But look, enough about Donny van de Beek anyway, because we could dissect, why he isn't playing, how he isn't playing, why his position exists or doesn't exist. We could literally be here for a whole fucking stream and talk about it. And I did swear on 11 o'clock show. Sorry about that, Mark, but look, had to be done. But I want to talk about a different player. Obviously Cristiano Ronaldo still. It looks like he's taken on kind of a new from the last couple of games, it looks like he's taking on kind of a new kind of mentoring role within the team with Alejandro Garnacho. What do you make of Ronaldo kind of adapting his role recently? Obviously, like, look, he's not a full-time starter anymore. I think we all know that. Like, he's not the main man anymore. I think we can kind of all, I suppose, admit that right now. What do you make of him kind of taking Garnacho under his wing, considering Garnacho has been at the Argentinian national team, he's won the FAU Cup, and I suppose there's no two better players to learn from at the minute than Ronaldo and Messi. It seems like he's learning from the two of them. So what do you make of Ronaldo kind of, I suppose, taking a step back and actually, being a mentor for a young player, because it's not something that he'd be usually associated with?
Yeah, look, I this whole Cristiano Ronaldo thing, I think is fascinating, in as much as that the disappointment for me is he hasn't learned how to adapt his game as he's grown older. And some of the greatest players ever to play the game, Ryan Giggs, moved from the wing to central midfield. Paul Scholes went deeper, from a 10 to a 6. Some of the greatest players have looked at their aging years and have changed their game, and that's why they're still playing. Ronaldo has always been this freak of nature, hasn't he? This physique, this work ethic, but you have to change. You've got to realise that your aches and pains that would go when you're 21 after a day, they're still with you 3 days later, and you've got to understand how to get your body working again. And unfortunately, Ronaldo, he can't cope with this new way of playing at Manchester United. He doesn't like it. And so I think for me, if I'm Ronaldo, I'm in that dressing room and I'm saying, look, this is what I want from you guys. Okay, I can't do this anymore. I can't get involved. But, cross the ball to me, get the ball in the box, I'm scoring. So this is how I want you to play for me. And then Ten Hag's either going to back him or not. I.e., sorry, Cristiano, I don't want to play that way, so you're on the bench. Or, okay, let's try it this way. Ronaldo's struggling at the minute because we're not getting to the byline enough. It's old school football, I know it really is old school football, but we've got Garnacho to an extent. I will touch on Garnacho in a minute. We've got Sancho and we've got Anthony. They're just not hitting the bylines. They're not attacking the diagonals. So the balls aren't coming in enough for Ronaldo. So he's getting frustrated. So he's trying to come deep to get involved with the play. So Ten Hag and Ronaldo have got to get together and say, I want you 18-yard line. That's it. Or I want you in line with the back four, pushing on the centre half. And that is all I want from you. I don't want you in here. Bruno, Ericsson, Casemiro, they can take care of that. Anthony and Sancho or whoever can take care of the width. But I want you where it matters, where you can hurt teams, in that box scoring goals. He's not doing that. He can't accept that. And it needs to change. As for his influence on Garnacho, look, I'll choose my words carefully here because you can look at it from a fan's point of view, or you can look at it from a football perspective. And from a football perspective, he's, as talented as this kid is, and he is massively, massively talented, and he's got a huge career. He would frustrate the fuck out of me if I was playing alongside him, because what he does, I know he got his goal, but what he does, he's got this youthful exuberance, and he just puts his head down, he gets the blinkers on, and he goes. But he doesn't quite know what to do. He's not ready yet just to quickly look up. Do you remember in the first 10 minutes, flashed the ball across? It was a great ball across, but there was absolutely nobody there. A good player looks at it, and look, he's old. He's old, and I get it. He's old. He's young. I get it. I really do. But the bottom line is, for me, Ronaldo needs to get hold of him and say, look, attack your players, either attack the diagonal, attack the box, but make sure you've got an end result. Because when I was 17 years old and I came on against Bolton, I was doing all the tricks of the trade, blah, 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 and I was getting the crowd up. The crowd loved me and all this, but I wasn't producing. He wasn't producing at that time. And that's what Ronaldo needs to say to him. You're not producing. I made a point on another show. I'd have had Garnacho in the dressing room. I said, listen, pal, you've got to be more clever. You've got to, kind of like make the ball disappear at your feet, but look after it. He dribbles brilliantly. He dribbles with 1 or 2 inches off his toe. He's fantastic. His close control, his body swerve is absolutely brilliant. But from a footballer's point of view, he would fucking wind me. From a fan's point of view, he gets you off the seat, doesn't he? So you've got to look at it 2 ways. So I love the kid, but that's what Ronaldo's got to be saying to him. Just make sure when you get into this position, you can either deliver a cross or you can do something, but you've got to make something happen and you've got to deliver. And that's all he needs to do, in my very humble opinion. I know people won't agree with me. They won't, because a lot of fans are like, fuck, you having a pop of Garnacho, blah, 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 blah. He's been our best player. Just read the game first. If you read the game of football, you'll understand what, and you guys know what I'm talking about anyway, because you understand football. But from a fan's point of view, Garnacho. We love him.
Greg, do you look at kind of, obviously Garnacho is in still his early time of United career, and we've seen kind of how maybe a couple of years ago Elanga was kind of doing the same, getting fans off seats. He was, a very much like figure. Do you maybe look at his game and maybe look at the way Ronaldo adapted it? When Ronaldo was like 17, 18, Ronaldo had all them skills. Ronaldo did get the fans off seats. Do you maybe think now we may see a similar development where Garnacho at the start, like he will get goals, he might get assists, but he might lose the ball? Do you think we're just going to see a natural development and natural progression in Garnacho's game? And similarly as well, the fact he's Erik Ten Hag as manager, do you think Ten Hag might be able to iron out, maybe tiny deficiencies that, out of his game?
Well, yeah, and obviously we know that he had attitude problems. So if Ronaldo's been his mentor, that's where he's got that from as well. So if he could get rid of that as well, that'd be great. But no, I think he will. I think he'll really kick on. I think he's in the best position to do so. I think if he can accept that he's still a 17-year-old kid and he's going to be in and out of the team and things like that, which I'm sure he will, because I'm sure Ten Hag didn't take too kindly. It was him that was late, wasn't it, during pre-season?
It was him, yeah. I said this before it came out. Like I was told off 1 or 2 people. Remember in pre-season in the summer in the group chat, I told you essentially that there was a player late in pre-season. Consequently, now we know who it is. In Garnacho, yeah. But yeah, look, it's one of them where, look, I think he was probably riding such a high wave after winning the FAU Cup last season. Obviously, that team in general was the first time United won it in a long time, in 11 years. So he's probably riding the high wave, winning that, then getting called up to Argentina at that time as well. Like, I think probably he's had a crash down to reality now in these last couple of months, especially the fact
it's a tough school, and Ten Hag's not really going to take to. He's not going to get the excuse, "Oh, I'm young," because Ten Hag doesn't care. He doesn't come across as someone that actually cares anything in terms of. He cares if you're going to contribute to the football team, and then if not, you're in the way. It's very much if you're not on board, then you're in the way. You can't be supporting alongside. You're either on board and going with what's going on, or you're stopping the progress. And I think Garnacho, from what he showed, is definitely good enough to just sort of kick on. His finish on Thursday night was really good. Terrific. Nice finish. Yeah. Top corner as well. Really, really good. I just hope he can kick on and take. I think it's unfair to assume that he's going to take a Ronaldo-like leap, because very few players in the history of the game will ever take a Ronaldo-like leap. It won't happen. He might become a very decent contributor for Man United at a good level, but to be expecting him to be like, okay, yeah, 17 he's going to be this sort of player, and then at 18, 19 and sort of 20, 21 he's going to be Ballon d'Or candidate, highly, highly unlikely. But he's a good player, and like Stu said, he's very exciting. When he gets the ball, he's one of these players that I think when Martial came in, everyone thought, oh, Martial gets the ball, things are going to happen. And he's just one of these players that every time he gets the ball, you think things are going to happen. Same with Anthony. Every time Anthony gets the ball, I think he's going to run at players, or he's going to do a silly spin move. But more times than not, he's going to run at players and make stuff happen. And that's what you want. And sometimes you just need players to take those risks. And there's going to be cases where the risks aren't going to pay off. But I think you'll get the benefit that he's sort of one of our own, that you'll get a little bit longer. You'll get a slightly longer leash to make the mistakes that a lot of players don't really. Yeah, I think he'll be he'll be fine going forward, but I want to taper expectations for people that are like, oh, well, if Ronaldo's his mentor, that means he's going to take a Ronaldo-like jump. Highly unlikely.
No, I agree. He had a dose of reality anyway, I think, because, the dressing room environment is completely different to what people see. I mean, it's ruthless, a dressing room environment. It's horrible. It's, You're right, Greg. You're right about the silly Anthony spin. You wouldn't have said anything on the pitch. You'd have nailed him in the dressing room after.
Oh, yeah, hammered him. I'm convinced that's why he was brought off. People are like he was resting. I think he was brought
He's
off.
actually injured now, to be fair.
Yeah, he's injured now. Well, he might have been injured in training. I'm convinced he was brought off because of that. Because Ten Hag's face after he played that pass, and I know it was silly and the game didn't mean anything, but just because it took momentum out of the attack,
it did. I would have hammered him myself.
I'd have hooked him there and then. I'd have brought him off for that there and then, just being like, nah.
I'd have fucking hammered him in the dressing room. And Bruno said the thing about Garnacho. He's had his issues, and he come out publicly and said he's had his issues. There's you want to step into you want to step into a men's dressing room at the highest level. Yeah, you can't dick about, mate, because I'm going to call you on it. I'm going to call you on it. He'd have been absolutely blasted by the players. Hammered by the players, As I say, people think, people are talking about the Anthony thing, and oh god, everybody's having a go at Anthony. So you're fucking right, they would be. Right. I said, if you remember, Keane, because I was on the stream with you, and we were talking about the Zidane Iqbal around the world in against
Liverpool.
Yeah,
against Liverpool, yeah.
Yeah, and I said,
remember. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and I said, absolutely brilliant, But when I get him in the dressing room, I'm fucking telling him straight. There's a time and a place for that, son. You're 18 years old. You do that in, because you've got the confidence to do it. Now you do that in a game where it matters and you lose it and we lose possession. We end up losing the game 1-0. You got to think, pal. You have to think. And this is all it's about with young players. It's expectations.
Habits, isn't it?
It's good habits.
Coaching habits.
Get into good habits in football. Everything you do, get into good habits. You love the youthful exuberance. I do. This is why I love Garnacho. I like what he does. But think. That's all I'm saying. But you're right about Anthony, Greg. I would have absolutely fucking hammered him. I'd give him another dose at full time as well, Yeah. Because I've had it. You expect to. We just we had a tournament in Portugal 6 weeks ago. When we were playing a German side, and I had a complete lack of, I don't know what happened, a dizzy spell, call it what you like, but 30 seconds, I just completely lost where I was on the pitch, and I lost the ball. They didn't score, luckily, and the goalkeeper gave me a absolute right hammering, which he should have done, absolutely right. And we had this new lad come up in the dressing room, and he comes over to me, and he puts his arm around me, he said, "You all right?" I said, "The goalkeeper gave me a hammering." I just fucking looked at him and said, "Mate, you don't belong in here. Fuck off." I should be fucking hammered. The goal should have been coming out and grabbing me by the throat and saying, "What the fuck are you doing? Calm down." That's football. That's football. That's what it's all about. Because if you can't trust the player to your left and to your right, I was pointing right now, then you can't trust anybody. You've got to be able to look at Greg, look at Keane, say, "I need you 100% at it." That's football. It's harsh. Yeah. It really is harsh, but it's the truth, I'm afraid. And fans, fair weather fans, if you want to call them that, I don't know. I don't want to be critical of fans, but some fans don't get it. And when you've been in that environment and you've got that real desire, that hunger to win, that's why Bruno called him out. And so he should call him out.
What I will say as well, I think there are better characters in that dressing room than there were 2 years ago to help someone like Garnacho. If he's looking round as well, there's Casemiro and there's Varane. Okay, there is Ronaldo. Ronaldo's going to have things, but Ronaldo's probably not going to be there come next season. But if he's looking around, there's like Varane, there's Casemiro, De Gea, who's a very vastly experienced footballer, top level, Eriksen, like proper professionals, and that they're able to play. The fact that Casemiro can still play at this level at that age is just because he's class. So if there's players he's going to learn off, it's going to be from players of this dressing room, and maybe not so like the ones in previous years with Pogba, etc.
Yeah, it would have been bad. And of course, as you rightly say, Keane, he's popping. I don't know. Is he going to go to the World Cup? Maybe as a squad.
Probably won't. I think it's probably a bit too early for him. I don't think he was actually involved in the squad. He was called up to the previous Argentina squad.
Yeah, I know he was. Yeah,
that was on the back of the U Cup win, but I still think it's a bit early for him. But look,
I'd take him. I'd take him just for the experience.
The same way England done with Walcott all in years ago.
Yeah, I'd have taken him for the experience. But you're going from, as Greg says, a dressing room of absolute winners, or 90% of winners, to an Argentina dressing room that's got that same killer instinct, because he's going to be alongside Martinez. I mean, look at Martinez. But you're right about Eriksen as well. 12 months ago, the guy was almost dead. 18 months ago, he was dead, wasn't he? And Garnacho can look at him and think, wow, that's something to endeavour to be, not to have
not to die on the pitch, but yeah.
But to look at that guy who's come back from, potential death, so.
It is a great story. Hopefully again from a professional standpoint, I think Eriksen is definitely someone who Garnacho can look up to, and not only that, just like other examples Greg mentioned, like Varane, De Gea, Fernandes. I think these are all players who are consummate professionals, and definitely players.
Rashford's a consummate professional. I don't think he's very good, but I think he's a consummate professional in terms of like someone that's come through the system, and you can look. This is how you're meant to do it. This is how you deal with going from being a Man United teenager to being a Man United first team 11 player. This is how you deal with the fame, the money, whatever, everything else, the pressure. Like I said, I'm not a massive fan of Rashford on the pitch, but I don't think anyone could turn around and say he's not a consummate professional, and he's not had a lot of personal sacrifice for the club.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And just kind of touch on, I know we're going to touch on our 11s in a minute and kind of what those score predictions, stuff like that. But obviously, Greg, last weekend, Marcus Rashford, you actually brought him up, hit a milestone of 100 goals for Manchester United. When you consider, obviously, his struggles last season, were really, really bad. He's already kind of beaten his goal contribution record for last season already this season. And what you make him, first of all, hitting the 100-goal milestone, and essentially what do you make of his maybe future under Erik ten Hag and his improvement this season?
What a bloody goal, to be fair. What a goal. I was so happy the fact that it was him. Just the fact that it was a header, it was a proper striker's header as well. With Ronaldo in the team as well, and he was the one to come on the end and finish it. I think that's been his best performance of the season. I think he's scored goals, but his all-round performance hasn't been good. But I thought he played really, really well last week to get his 100th goal. And yeah, it was just he was never going to. I don't know. He was never going to score. I don't think I was expecting him to score 20 in the league. I don't think anyone was sort of expecting him to score 20 in the league at any point. I don't think he's that sort of player. But I think what he has done is he's fully bought into the system. He's bought into the position he's been asked to play. He's been asked to play two different positions. And yeah, his whole mindset this season would just be like fresh slate. Just try and forget the last 12, 18 months and just fresh slate. And I think he's benefited a lot from Bruno being back, confidence-wise, playing these passes. Eriksen being someone that can split the lines in midfield. Casemiro as well. I think he does benefit from players that can play behind. And if we've got players that can play that ball in behind on the left-hand side, Rashford's going to contribute. I just don't know if he can contribute as much as we need him to if we were a little bit higher up the league. But it was a really good goal.
He's spot on, man. I mean, everything he said, I think I agree with. His goal against West Ham was it's a thing of beauty. I mean, I watched it in real life, but when you actually watched it back in slow motion, the run that he got on the defender and that power and the way his body was shaped to get there, it was just phenomenal.
Hangs in the air as well, like proper hangs there and weights and everything through it. It's a proper header. The
defender had no chance. No. Absolutely no chance. He would have known where Rashford was. His defensive position, by the way, defender was on point. It was just unstoppable. The cross was delicious. I mean, the cross was perfect. And the defender's got a real problem because you're looking at the ball and you're trying to almost stick your elbow out to try and find where your striker is, because what you're trying to do is just get an idea of where he is. And then by the time that's happened, he's got this run on you, bang. You haven't got a hope in hell. I mean, the goalkeeper, I think, dived when the ball was in the net. It was a phenomenal strike header, a phenomenal header. And that the whole build-up was amazing. It was brilliant. Bruno, deft touch into Eriksen deft touch across, bang, 1-0. And then, of course, we saw it out. Greg's all right. I think that was by far his best game. He's scored goals, but he's been in and out in terms of the way that he has been involved in the games, which has been a bit of a shame because he's got this look in his eye again that he really wants to be at Manchester United. He's had 18 months of turmoil. Said himself he was struggling mentally, couldn't adapt, whether he was doing too much off the pitch or not. You can't really argue what he did off the pitch. but he's got this new lease of life under Ten Hag. And when you get believed in as a footballer, it does help. I don't like confidence. People say, oh, he's like confidence. Well, only you can get yourself out of the doldrums, and it's up to you as a professional footballer to do that. But when you've got somebody who really believes in you, as Greg says, you've got Casemiro on there, who, by the way, will help Maguire. Maguire was excellent against West Ham. He had a couple of dodgy moments, don't get me wrong, but that happens in football. But ultimately, he was excellent because Casemiro helps the forward players, the likes of Rashford, but he also helps the defence, the likes of Maguire, because he's that linchpin. And so, it allows Rashford to have a more freer role. Eriksen allows Rashford to have a more freer role. So does Bruno. Anthony's got the same role as Rashford, but he's not utilising it. He's quite static and quite stuck out on the right. Maybe that's just a hangover from Ajax, because the way that Dallow's playing, whatever we think of Dallow, I think positionally he's atrocious, but going forward,
he's been good this season.
He lose the life, yeah.
He's been brilliant this season, yeah.
And with Luke Shaw's, said, "Nice one, Malacia. I'll just tap you on the head, mate, but move aside now, pal. I'll show you how to do."
For 2 or 3 months, and then he'll go back to being Luke Shaw, which is
he will do, and that's how it is. But when Malacia's come on, he hasn't cried about it. He's come on and he's played. The issue for us is if Dallow gets injured, it's going to completely change the dynamic of how we're playing. So we do need to address that somewhere. But Casemiro is actually the key, the lynch for all of this. It's just one player is the lynch for all of this. And I want to see Rashford play tomorrow. I want to see him score another bullet header, but I'd like it to be a bit lower this time. I'd like it to be a bit lower, a proper diving header. Throwback. That's what
Cavani style.
Yeah. Oh. Well, can you imagine? Can you imagine Cavani playing in this type of team as a number 9? Well, phenomenal. He would really score a shitload of goals because he's so quick in the box. Absolutely amazing if we had Cavani.
Yeah, I miss that, man. I really
Me too.
I know the last couple of months were a bit of a struggle with him, but look.
Well, I think he knew where he knew he was going, didn't he? He knew his contract wasn't going to be renewed. He knew he was going. So his thoughts then were, I've got to stay fit. I need a new team. But wow, he would have been amazing for us this year. Absolutely amazing.
100%. And his song just alone, we could have kept him there.
It's so good.
Oh, it's so good. Nothing like it before a game. But look, we will we will all pick the starting 11, and we'll give our score predictions as well at the end of the stream. Unfortunately, Steven Gerrard, as we said, isn't Villa manager. I was hoping that he'd stay on to this game and we get him sacked, but unfortunately that didn't come to pass. He was that bad before that he had to go. So yeah, I just had to get that in for my good friend Cara there. Look, we will chat about our starting 11s. Greg, give me your goalkeeper for tomorrow, and obviously the rest of the team as well.
Who's injured? Still Varane.
Yeah, Varane's Varane.
Is Anthony, Marcel, and Sancho, are the three of them still hurt?
They're being monitored between now and tomorrow. But the embargo part of the press conference will probably come out tonight, so we probably know a bit more. But they're saying there's a chance all three of them will be fit this weekend.
I think we probably will see all three. I don't know if all three will start. De Gea will start and go. Who looks like a man that's playing for a new contract, by the way.
Yeah, he does.
100%. Oh, he does. I think he'll take a wage cut and stay, and I think he'll get 3 or 4 more years. And I think he'll even if he takes a wage cut to 200 odd grand a week, that's 150, 175 grand a week saved. That's serious money saved, and he's probably done enough to warrant the chance to be allowed that for what he's stuck through. I think, considering the rotten teams that David De Gea has had to try and keep in the top 6, I think he deserves the chance to, even as a cup goalkeeper, to see maybe the chance to see something special under Ten Hag. I think he's probably earned that. He's been through the rough parts of it. So I think it'll be De Gea. Do you just want the whole team, or do you just want the back four?
Yeah, give your whole 11. Yeah.
Be Dallo, Maguire, Lisandro, Shaw, Casemiro, Fred, Eriksen, Rashford, Sancho, Ronaldo.
Rashford, Sancho, Orlando. Orlando.
Who's Orlando?
It's a mix between Elanga and Ronaldo there. That's Greg's 11. Stu, what would you go with tomorrow?
That was actually my 11. Believe it or not. That's because when you consider what we've got to play with and who we've got, that's pretty much all you can do. I'd like to see Donny come in, but I don't think he did enough, so I don't think he will. I know Ten Hag has said in the press that Donny played exactly the way he expected him to play, in terms of what he knows about him, but I don't think he's done enough. I think you'll have to bring in Fred to complement Casemiro, unleash Eriksen a little bit more, and I think Sancho needs to come in. I really do. Rashford and Ronaldo. I think you're right. I think it could be a potent front three if Sancho pulls his finger out of his arse and starts actually playing football for it. He's been decent on occasion.
Cause threat, but when he gets the ball, he doesn't do it. Everything up until he gets the ball looks great.
Yeah,
like he's off the ball position and everything. He's even working slightly harder this year. But everything until he gets, and then he gets the ball, and then he's like, "And now do something." Like,
yes.
It's
like he forgot what to do, isn't it? Interestingly enough, and I'm not name dropping here because I can't be arsed with all that bollocks, but I play football with Jude Bellingham's an old man, Mark Bellingham, and I was talking to him about Sancho a few weeks ago, and he was saying that the Sancho that you would see in Dortmund, the Sancho that knew that he got somebody. And it was always an Erling Haaland, obviously, in there. But he'd take the ball deep off Bello, or he'd take the ball deep off Royce, whatever, and then he would just go. But he would go with a direction. He wouldn't just put his head down and go like Garnacho, bless him. He'd go with a direction of travel, and then he'd be able to deliver the killer pass. Or he got the ability to go around 2 or 3 players. Bello reckons he's playing it safe. He says to me, for some unknown reason, he's playing it safe. So he's playing more with his back to goal rather than side facing, with his side to goal, really, which is what he needs to do. Because a good winger, if you take the ball to your side, you're almost taking it on your stride. And then when you take it on your stride, it's very, very difficult for a fullback, if he's out of position, like Dalot, to get back and make the tackle. That's where Wan-Bissaka, by the way, was excellent. Even if he would get back and make that tackle. And that's what he was saying about Sancho. Interesting, I thought, anyway.
Yeah, no, I just want him to be that player. Like I don't know. People are like, "Oh, we need to get rid of him." Like, no, just give him a chance. He's brilliant. He just needs, like you say, a bit of belief and just to try things a little bit more.
He's got to believe in himself. He's got to think, I'm not going to play safe anymore. I'm going to have a go. And if the gaffer has a pop at me, tough. Have a go at me, Eric. But you can do what you like. I've just popped one in for Ronaldo to score.
Yeah,
let me play to my strengths. And sometimes I say this a lot, Keane. You have to go rogue in a football match. You've got to go rogue. If the gaffer's saying do this and do that, but you can see something different unfold in front of you on the pitch, do it. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying stick 2 fingers up at the boss, but do it. Move into that position you think will give you that best. The best part for the team, and Sancho's got to do that. And if he does that, I think he'll start to come out of his shell. But he's not been the 80 million or 100 million player that Dortmund sold to us, has he? Whether we can all agree with that.
Yeah, look, he hasn't fulfilled the expectation. Look, I know me and Greg were saying at the time when we signed him for 73 million or something like that, was that we got a good price, which I think he still could fulfill in the end, but I think this season he's been a bit up and down. Like, you look at the start he had, like he was scoring goals and like he looked like he was really switched on, especially during pre-season. He was brilliant.
There's another player, Keane, who's going to be playing Cadiz instead of Argentina.
He should be out in the World Cup, like really.
He should be on the plane to Qatar, playing the likes of Argentina, Brazil, blah 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 blah. But instead, I'm going to be playing Cadiz. I'm going to be. I'm going to be a Carrington.
Jared Bowen's going to the World Cup most likely, right? And Jared Bowen and he's been like, you talk about players. He's been useless this season. He
hasn't been good this year, has he?
No, he was good last year.
Yeah, that's why he's probably going to go. But yeah, look, Jadon Sancho.
Do you think Rashford's done enough? Do you think Rashford might sneak back in?
Yeah, 100%. If you look at the England's options on the left and up front, I think Rashford is a shoo-in to go to the World Cup. And if you look at England's most balanced 11, he probably should start. But like it's one of them where like Foden out on the left, he probably could have put Foden on the right, probably. Just Saka could maybe play there, but like if you look at like
Saka's injured, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he'll be okay though. I think it was just a bump, like just a knock.
Yeah, he's going to make it, is he? Saka's going to make it because there's a few players touch and go, isn't it? Chilwell's pretty much knackered, isn't he?
Yeah. England don't have like kind of after Luke Shaw, it's like Trippier, Dan Burn, and I don't know who the other couple of players were for left back, so they're kind of short at left back.
I would pay good money to watch Neymar against Dan Burn. Right.
Yeah,
I want to see
that. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
That'd be a very interesting matchup. But yeah, like look, I give my 11 on this. Well, I actually kind of have 10 out of both your 11s. I just have Lindelof in ahead of Harry Maguire. Actually, no,
I thought Lindelof was injured, but was he just ill?
He was just ill. He played last night.
The reason I went for Maguire is I think he'll want the aerial presence because I don't think you're going to see any free flowing Villa attacking. I think they're going to just bombard us. Yeah, they're just going to bombard us like West Ham did, and Maguire was absolutely terrific, wasn't he? Let's be honest.
Yeah, he was terrific. The only other change I'd probably make is probably Anthony out on the right if he's fit, just to give us that balance of two players cutting in terms of Anthony and Rashford on the left, and then Ronaldo up top. The only concern I have with Ronaldo at the minute, lads, is he's playing 3 games in a week at his age. Martial needs to either get fit, get a new set of legs, and not be injured, or we need to buy a striker in January. Like we really, really do. We can't expect Ronaldo.
Cody Gakpo. Go ask PSV what they want for Gakpo and give them that. Just get him. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I like it. 30 million apparently. That's all it'll take in Jan.
Bargain.
Absolutely. It should be done now, shouldn't it? It should be done before the World Cup. Get it done. 30 million.
Yeah, because like if you look long term, look, we're playing very well right now, and it's all well and good, but we can't rely on Ronaldo for 38 years of age, which he will be, to play 3 games in a week. Because I think we go far into the Europa League. I really do. I think we go far in the Europa League this season. So like for me right now, I think we do have to get number 9 because look, if you look at Martial, he's the perfect striker for this system right now. Like he really is. Under Erik ten Hag, but he plays a game, he gets injured. Plays 1 or 2 games, gets injured. Like we can't have that all season. It's either Gakpo or do we go in for someone else like an Abraham or someone like that? Like is there someone out there who
Tammy would be good.
I like Tammy. I was just about to touch on something actually. You're right about Martial and about Varane. Throughout their careers, they've just been injured. And I've never known players not do anything, change their routine to try and nullify the amount of injuries they get. These guys are at the top of their level. They've got nutritionists. They've got sports scientists. There must be a way where they can avoid injuries. I mean, I remember years ago when Giggsy had his hamstring trouble, if you remember. He was told to, not drive a manual car anymore.
He was doing yoga, weren't he? A lot of yoga after that. For his hamstring
problem. He was doing yoga. Don't drive a manual car. Just drive an automatic moving forward. And you've got to do something. You've got to be able. You can look at your body and think, how can I prevent injuries? Look, you can't prevent a broken leg and all that kind of nonsense. I get all that, but you can make yourself more durable. There are ways and means to make yourself more durable. And Varane and Martial don't seem to know how to do it. It's crazy.
Did you hear the one? I think it was Carlo Ancelotti with Victor. Remember Victor Moses was just suddenly amazing for Chelsea 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Apparently, it was either Ancelotti, but I can't remember. It was whoever the Chelsea boss was. Basically, Conte. Yeah, they were in the team bus, and Victor Moses opened his mouth up and laughed, and Conte was like, "Go get your wisdom teeth taken out. That's why you keep getting injured." And then suddenly he didn't get any more injuries.
Yeah. And that's the things. That's
because it was causing hamstring and ankle injuries because he had his wisdom teeth. So when he got his wisdom teeth taken out, then for some reason the rest of his body worked better. Imagine that. That's mental.
It is mental, but it's that attention to detail, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's that attention to detail that makes the greatest players, the greatest coaches better than anybody else because they know stuff. And whatever reason, we can't keep Martial fit, and we can't keep Varane fit. I mean.
Varane's been better this season.
Yeah,
he did get a good spell there, and that was really unlucky against
Yeah, like that was a freak situation against Chelsea. But yeah, I see what you mean about Varane and Martial. They both have like long history of like injuries, and look at Pogba as well when he was here. And I don't know if this is kind of a French thing at the moment. Like some of the French players we've had, they've all had injuries.
The French squad's really struggling, haven't they? Because Pogba's
in the World Cup, going into the World Cup, the French squad have a load of injuries. So I don't know what it is. Is it just a genetic thing? I don't know. I really don't know. But it's mad how like all these top French players, Barron and Mbappe at the minute, all have like long-term injury problems. Kante has his fair share of injuries. Varane, Pogba, Martial. It's Griezmann's had his.
Rabiot doesn't, so we could go back in for Rabiot.
You can fuck right off. We're not.
He had a good game the other night.
We're not getting him.
But played okay against PSG.
Do you know what? This transfer window, Greg, I can thank Adrien Rabiot's mother for holding out for more money, because look at the end, we've got Casemiro in instead of him, and he's absolute mustard. So, do you know what?
Actually, interesting enough, Casemiro and Rabiot together would be formidable.
Be good fun.
They would, but I don't want.
He's a better player than Rabiot's a better player than people think. He really is. He's picked constantly, isn't he, for France? PSG, Juventus, yeah, he's picked on, but it's his mother. You're right about his mum, Keane. She's a fucking pain in the ass.
Yeah, he's a bit of a difficulty. He's a difficulty in the dressing room as well. So
he is. Yeah, you're right.
We're talking about an improved dressing room, improved vibes in the dressing room.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, and even
Veronique, that's it. Veronique.
Veronique for playing hardball. Absolutely.
She says, "Come on, I want 3 million extra." That's what she was. Line my own pocket.
We've the best DM in the Premier League aside of Rodri there at United now. So yeah, so thanks very much for that one.
Yeah, definitely.
But we will get our score predictions in, and just before we wrap up. So, Stu, give me your score prediction for tomorrow.
I think we'll sneak a 1-0. I can't see it scoring any more than one. I'm sorry. Goal scorer at Rashford. I think Rashford will net tomorrow. 1-0.
So Stu says 1-0. Greg, do you agree? Disagree?
I think it'll be 2-0, and I think Eriksen will finally get his Man United goal.
Nice.
I don't know who'll score the other, but I think Eriksen will finally get his goal. But I think it'll be 2-0. I think it's weird predicting clean sheets. We didn't do that for about 2 years.
I know.
We're just like, we'll concede, but how many will we score? Like, predicting clean sheets now is pretty strange.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what, as well with me, I'm going 2-0 as well. I said it last night, talked to Devils, I went 2-0. I think, look, we will dominate the ball, I feel. Feel like they will sit back, but I think, look, we've enough firepower up front to get the result. And I see in the comments we have another 2-0 prediction as well. Yeah. I think, look, we have enough firepower up top. I think the likes of Ronaldo, Rashford, and up top may score. And even, our likes for our fullbacks, Dallo, Luke Shaw, they could chip in. You never know. Like, our players have been very productive this season. And yeah, what Greg said as well, like, in terms of, it'd be great to see an Eriksen free kick or something tomorrow, wouldn't it? Like, it'd be absolutely fantastic. Or a screamer.
I want to see a Maguire bullet header. Bang.
He doesn't score bullet headers. He doesn't win the ball with a header unless he's playing up front or playing for England.
I know, it's nuts, isn't it? No, I like to see Maguire score, and then I like him to flick the V's up at everyone. There you go.
What about because there's so much been made about Lisandro Martinez's height, I just want to see him score a header this season.
Yeah, that
above Tyrone Mings, like just
just hold on to his shoulder.
I want Jamie Carragher to be on commentary as well when it happens as well. Like, that would just be fucking poetic. Yeah. Anyway, look, we'll wrap up there, guys. And thanks very much to Greg and Stu for coming on.
Pleasure.
This morning, Joe, I'm actually really enjoying the Saturday morning shows this season, considering that we're in the kind of Emmerdale Cup this season, so it's kind of good to see us kind of so it's good to see us kind of we can catch up on the Saturday morning and I suppose talk about United, and it's been all good vibes this season, so hopefully it can stay that way. And look, let's hope the Champions League fighting Brentford don't get a result this weekend as well. But until then, guys, as always, like, share and subscribe. We do appreciate your support. And look, we'll be back next week, not only talking about the Fulham game, but we're going to do a World Cup special as well next week as well. Now, Ireland aren't in it, Scotland aren't in it, but we are going to talk about the World Cup. It's okay. The Euros is going to be both of our times. Not right, Greg? The Euros next season.
Exactly. We can both hate England, though. That's fine. As long as anyone beats England, then we're okay.
Yeah. We won't go there. We're not getting political live on it. Thanks very much for watching, and look, we'll see you next week.